Hey everybody, and welcome back to Split Couch Games. As always, I'm Scott.
And I'm Ben.
And this is Couchcast number 54, I think is what you said, so we're going with that.
Yeah, 54.
We're gonna start with talking about an update to the Apocalypse, which I'm sure that you've probably heard about, because I think a lot of people are talking about it.
I don't know. I the only way I found out about it was like that picture that I sent you.
Yeah.
It was from a tweet that someone I'm following liked, and I didn't even know the person that tweeted that picture.
You mean this picture that's on the screen right now? Bam!
Yeah, sure.
Editing.
You better remember to do that.
Absolutely won't.
Yeah. But yeah, like that picture was tweeted out. So like at first I wasn't even like sure if it was legitimate or not, because I was like, there's no branding in the picture at all. So like there's no way to know whether or not it was actually YouTube saying that. But
yeah,
you know, long story short,
yeah.
there's been an update to the demonetization bot that has improved everything, and they have basically gone through and like remonetized, like I think it said millions of videos.
It said millions of videos. But it said, I think the percentage in the letter picture thing said there was like 30% of videos were remonetized.
Yeah,
or something like that. So the message, if you didn't read it on screen, basically said like, oh, you know, we looked at it, and you know, there have been over 1 million human reviews that have helped refine what gets demonetized automatically. So like they basically took like the information from videos that got remonetized, and then we're like, wait, okay, so if we can apply that to all the other videos, then we'll decrease the amount of ones that will need to be reviewed.
Yeah.
So basically the bot went back through over the course of 12 hours and got it to be more accurate, and we can tell you that as for our channel, it is significantly better.
Significantly. A lot of the Gears of War videos are still demonetized.
Not a lot. Couple.
Almost the entirety of Gears 4 campaign playthrough is still... Well, it has a green monetization symbol, but if you filter by limited or no ads, it still shows up.
Well,
so I guess like it's remonetized, but just in a very limited way.
So for those who don't know, no, I think that like, because the green, I think that that's just a list of all the videos that were limited.
Are you
and
sure?
Then like yeah, because I think that like even
because Hellblade Part 2 isn't in here, and that was one of the ones that got hit, but Hellblade Part 3 is.
Interesting. But there's also like there are the ads that are the videos that do have like the limited or no ads mark in that list.
Yes.
So
what I think it is my guess is there were a lot of videos that were fully remonetized, and now there are but there are also a bunch of other videos like Hellblade Part 3 that are still monetized, but to a much lesser extent. You know, maybe because it's suitable for some advertisers, but not many. Like, it'll only occasionally get ads, but then I think the ones with the yellow mark that are listed as not suitable for most advertisers are not making any money at all.
Sure.
I think that's the distinction there. But, I mean, again, like, we haven't received any official communication. So.
Yeah, there's not anything official, but when I looked yesterday, like right when I texted you, there was still like all 5 pages of videos that were demonetized were still there. Now there's only 3.5 pages or something like that.
Okay.
So I think that they're getting removed from that list.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it could be that the bot is going through and cleaning up still. I mean,
Yeah.
that's always possible.
Yeah, so we'll keep you guys posted on that. But from what I understand, is that like all the green marks mean that all the videos are fully monetized, whether they're on the limited or no ads list that we currently have. I think it's just getting updated.
Gotcha. All right.
But there are a couple videos that are still not monetized, which I can understand.
Witcher 3 episode 1, what?
Booty, 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 booty. The Witcher 3 episode, the first Hitman video, Sexual Favors in the Gardens of Paris.
I get a bunch of Gears stuff. From Gears 2 specifically.
Well, the Gears 2. Yeah.
There's the outtake of Adam Phoenix's fetishes.
Yeah, so. That one was, and then the episode where that's from.
Yeah.
Which is called like something porn related, questionable porn choices.
Yeah.
It's a whole thing. We understand those not being monetized.
The Emily Wants to Play preview is still not suitable.
Yeah, I'm not.
Still unreleased, but that's whatever. Anyways, so that's basically the update around that. Some of our videos have been remonetized, some have not, but we are in a much better position, and we do feel kind of like we can make like curated video content again. Like if you wanted to do more Gears tutorials, you could probably actually do that now without just like instant demonetization.
Hopefully.
And I would feel comfortable doing maybe some more Skyrim content or finishing up Hellblade, because surprisingly enough, in like the last, has it been like a month now? I think something like that.
I don't know.
Anyway, yeah, and like like last month and a half, however long it's been since I've had a Hellblade episode out, I haven't actually finished the game, just because anybody that pays attention to the channel, I've been really busy. Work has been crazy and everything. Most of the time when I sit down and I'm able to play games, I want to be able to just kind of like zone out. Like I've played a lot of like Skyrim because I know it so well that I don't need to pay attention. And I've also played, like a lot of Minecraft and that kind of stuff. So, I might end up begin doing that. Probably not this week. I might start it up again kind of like, maybe next Friday. So not like 2 days from when you guys are listening to this, but a week and 2 days. But again, that's all primarily going to depend on my work schedule and how exhausted I am and everything like that. So
so I guess like as for our plans, we're still using this as a wake-up call that like YouTube is not, we shouldn't be fully committed to YouTube because things can happen that could completely ruin it at any point. But we are like more comfortable with YouTube now. So we are going to kind of maybe like
start doing the video on demand content again, but not on like a super regular basis.
Yeah.
I think we both still want to at least, try streaming and that kind of thing. I know Scott does. I'm
enjoying it. No one's watching, but I'm enjoying it.
Yeah, I mean, if there's ever a point in time where I do it, then I'm sure I'll have a blast. But,
we're also like, we're gonna like maybe try streaming to the YouTube channel to we have 500 subscribers. If you haven't seen that video, it's there. Thank you guys so much. But like we want to like get that content out to you guys. So we're gonna just play around with it. We're kind of in a place of experimentation, I would say.
Yeah. I would say so.
Try a bunch of different stuff and see what we enjoy doing, what our audience enjoys seeing, and Ben's gonna be in a factory just pumping out Skyrim videos because those just get views.
But yeah, so that's kind of our plan going forward. Now, as far as like a real topic, now that we're done with like the channel update, if you will.
ADPOCALYPSE is an important topic.
It is. You're not wrong about that. It is
probably
a very
more important for other
topic.
channels that actually make money off of YouTube.
Yeah, unlike us. But
Yeah.
anyways, so I figure we could talk a little bit about EA closing Visceral, because whether or not you liked the games, the fact that Visceral was closed down is kind of a big deal.
Yeah.
I mean, they're most well known for making the Dead Space series. And I think you played at least one of those, right?
A bit, but it was too spooky for me.
Okay. Well, I played all three of them. And frankly, like, if you ask me, like, they did get worse as they went on, because they went from less survival horror to more like, oh, it's an action shooter with jump scares.
Watch out!
But yeah. So that, kind of aside.
Oh, they made Agent Under Fire. Oh my god. I played that so much on the GameCube. And they made Lord of the Rings: The Return of the King.
That was definitely a good game. I played it on the original Xbox and a little bit on PS2 when I was like visiting my cousins and stuff. But mainly on Xbox. Yeah, no, they made, a lot of different games, but they are most well known for Dead Space, like I said, and I believe their most recent release was Battlefield Hardline, which...
Yeah, it was Battlefield Hardline. They made the Army of Two, the Devil's Cartel. Interesting.
Sure.
I guess that makes sense. It is an EA game. That's never coming back.
But yeah, and the project that they had been working on was a Star Wars game. It was supposed to be like an action-adventure kind of Star Wars game.
It was with the lead director or someone who was in charge of the Uncharted series at a time.
Yeah.
So it was like, everyone was like, oh my god, Uncharted Star Wars game.
Yeah. But
that'll be great.
Personally, I was like super looking forward to...
I was looking forward to it too.
Like a story-based single-player Star Wars game. So regardless of what came out, I was probably going to be like super interested in it and everything.
Yeah.
That's obviously not going to happen for a good time now, because the project has been obviously taken away from Visceral and is being moved to another studio within EA, where they can continue working on it.
Most known for sports franchises. Yay!
But I'm trying to find the exact quote. Here we go. This was part of the statement that EA released surrounding this entire thing. And it says, in its current form, meaning the Star Wars game, which was codenamed Ragtag. So in its current form, it was shaping up to be a story-based linear adventure game. Throughout the development process, we've been testing the game concept with players, listening to the feedback about what and how they want to play, and closely tracking fundamental shifts in the marketplace. It has become clear that to deliver an experience that players will want to come back to and enjoy for a long time to come, we need to pivot the design. And that makes me want to vomit, personally.
Yeah.
Because every bit of that says to me that this game was not going to have any multiplayer, or if it was going to be more of like the backseat as opposed to the main driving factor. And it also says that in EA's eyes, in order for a game to be successful and or profitable, it needs to have a fan base that constantly comes back to it. And that, in and of itself, makes me despise the company on a great level. Because I understand, there are games out there, like the Division and Overwatch and, like Rainbow Six and everything that, like, have multiplayer elements in some, like, fashion or another. And I understand that there's, like, this stigma out there that the only way a game can be profitable if it does have a multiplayer aspect to it. I understand that. I don't agree with it, because there are amazing single-player games out there that just completely blow everybody's mind. I mean, pretty much 90% of what Nintendo puts out falls into that category. And
well,
you could be like, well, they have the franchise. What? No, you can't. Like,
no. So my thoughts here. So first of all, I don't think with this, like, you can attach multiplayer without, cannibalizing the Battlefront market, right? Like, but like, I don't want to get hung up on that. Because I agree, I want the single player story, but when it's a linear, like the single player games for Nintendo, like most recently, Odyssey, Breath of the Wild, those games, that's like 40 hours of content.
Yeah.
A linear single player story is hard pressed to get to 10 hours of content without, like, being like, oh, just replay it on a harder difficulty or whatever.
I mean, that's the precedent now.
Sure.
But, like, any good linear single player game can easily hit the 20-30 hour mark. It just has to be developed that way from the get-go. I mean, most of the time, if you are looking at a single-player game and it's only 10 hours long, it's either made by an indie studio of some sort, or it has some sort of bullshit multiplayer shoehorned in.
Yeah.
Like, the only exception, I guess, would be Ready at Dawn when they released the Order 1944 or whatever it was. 1888, whatever. But when they released that game, like, it was a very, very short single-player experience, and it had no multiplayer attached. It was a beautiful game, and it had a rather compelling story, but it was very short, and the mechanics were kind of eh. And that would be a prime example of a single-player experience that is not worth a $60 price tag. But, like, if you handed me Prey, or if you handed me, Doom or Dishonored, conveniently enough, all Bethesda titles, but that's irrelevant.
Yeah.
Then those are single player experiences that I feel like are absolutely worth the money. Or, like, heck, even the Metro series. Those games.
Well, Metro,
like,
isn't Metro open world?
No. I mean, it's about as open world as, like, what Halo was. Like, there was a predefined path, but you could explore a little bit.
I guess that was always I always saw that being marketed as, like, open world.
Like I said, I mean, it's about as open world as what Halo is. Like, there are large environments, but there's always, like, a beginning and an end. It's not open world like Skyrim or anything like that.
Okay.
But, like, Metro is, like, a very linear game. Like, there's technically different endings that you can get to and everything like that, but it is very linear. And when I played through that the first time, I didn't do it on the hardest difficulty because I didn't know anything about the game. But it still took me, like, 20 hours-ish. And, like, the first Wolfenstein, first meaning of the reboot, so the one that came out in 2014, that one was, like, a good another, like, 15, 20 hours and everything, and that was honestly one of the best story experiences I've gotten out of a first-person shooter in a very, very long time.
Yeah.
So, single-player games are absolutely possible to hit that mark of being compelling and everything, but the resources required to get there are as much as what it would take for a multiplayer game, and I feel like that's where a lot of publishers fall off the train. They think, oh, well, you're just making a single player experience, so either A, you need fewer people / much less money, or B, it's not going to be enough, so you're not going to be profitable.
Yeah, because I mean, I understand that from a business perspective, is that, like, even if you have, like, a small multiplayer population, it's still a consistent revenue stream of some kind.
But for the most part, it's not. I mean, in my experience, like, if there's ever a small multiplayer population, that population isn't going to be, like, buying any sort of microtransactions.
Well, when I guess, like, when I say small, I mean, like, enough to keep it alive. Like, not like small as in, like, Lawbreakers on its first weekend when there was, like, 25 people online. Like, that's That's not a population. That's a group.
Yeah.
That's an after school program group kind of thing.
But I mean, you mean small, like, you know, a few thousand concurrent on a regular basis type of thing?
I don't even think it needs to be concurrent, but like enough to where like if you go and find a match, it takes you, you know, like 30 seconds to a minute to find a match. Like it's not a like it's normal matchmaking times, enough to have a normal matchmaking time.
Yeah,
it would be what I would say. And you can do that with, you know, yeah, like 1,000 concurrent or whatever, like whatever the case may be. It depends on the game.
Yeah.
Like that kind of like level would not keep League of Legends alive, because of like, you know, 30-minute games. If there's like, you know, 1,000 people online, like there's no way that you would ever get in a game within 5 minutes.
Yeah.
But you know, you have 100,000 people online at any given point, you'll probably be okay. Yeah. Obviously, they wouldn't be making $1 billion a year at that point, but the point stands. They're like, it depends on matchmaking times. Like Rocket League could get away with, you know, I think Rocket League does get away with relatively low population sometimes because the games are, you know, 5 minutes long.
Yeah, and that's definitely true because I mean, like, especially early on the Xbox, like I remember some of the queues in terms of like people playing in it were like in the like double digits, like there were that few people. But again, like the queue time was like, you know, maybe I was waiting for a minute and that's it.
Yeah. So I mean, I think like it depends on the game, but yeah, so like I can see like business life, like it's like, okay, we just need to capture, you know, a couple thousand people.
See, but the part where I get hung up on any of this is that EA is continuing their games as a service mentality.
Yeah. Which,
to a certain extent, there's nothing wrong with that.
Mm-hmm.
However, if you are going to go that route, you need to not at all invest in single-player games. Because single-player games, or even like some sort of multiplayer game that is only good for like 1 or 2 playthroughs, those are not structured to both be successful in terms of a service, as I punch my microphone.
It's just so bad.
But those aren't in any way structured to be successful as a service and as an experience. Like, you just can't inherently have that. The only way you could ever even do anything remotely like that would be as if you had some sort of like pseudo co-op open world RPG type of thing. Like if they brought like co-op into Mass Effect and then attached microtransactions.
Yeah.
And it would have to be like a super popular title like that because it has the fan base that's going to come back and replay that game a dozen times anyways. I mean, that's what people do with BioWare RPGs. I have a friend that has played Dragon Age Inquisition like 12.5 times.
Yeah. I think that Mass Effect is a good point, though. That, like, I know that that's not, like... I would kind of, like, put that in the linear storytelling, because it wasn't, like, open world.
Totally.
But, like, yeah.
Totally. Yeah, no, I 100% agree with you there.
And but we can agree that, like, Andromeda, for all, like, obviously I know that you enjoyed it more than the average person, but, like, by most metrics, it was a failure. And I think that, like, that, in a way, like, kind of, like, sealed the fate of this, of Visceral games, basically. Like, especially, like, this, like, the Project Ragtag. Because it's like, if Mass Effect failed...
Well, see, but here's... And I mean,
I know that, like, there's a difference. Like, I'm not, like, don't
yeah, no,
like, this isn't me making the decision.
Saying,
this is the top of EA is like, Mass Effect failed. Guess all single player games are failing.
Yeah, see, but this is like, I don't know if it was something that was pushed for by EA to begin with, but the multiplayer in Mass Effect, although enjoyable, will always, in my opinion, be something that I can look at and be like, well, what if all that time and money had been spent on expanding the campaign a little bit more, or fixing these bugs, or something else? And again, you know, like, I don't have any problem with the multiplayer in that game. I do enjoy it. I don't play a whole lot of it. I know some people like love it to death and like play it nonstop, but that is not me. And I also feel like, again, whether it's BioWare or EA or a mixture of the two, doesn't really matter to me. But I feel like when it comes to Andromeda, they kind of made a huge departure from what actually made the core trilogy successful. You know, they went like, oh, well, you know, it's about being in space and doing space things. And everybody's like, no, it's about the characters and the relationship that you have. And that kind, like, I don't want to fucking drive around a desert for 30 goddamn minutes just to get to what I need to do next.
Yeah.
Like, I think I want to be able to, like, fly there, get off, shoot shit, and then go have conversations.
But that's the thing, though, right? Like, if EA invests a lot of money into a single-player game, if something goes wrong with that game, it's like, it's just a wash in terms of money. But with the games as a service,
sure,
they get to, you know...
Yeah.
And well, so, like, I think, like what you said, you know, it's fine for them to go with their games as a service, but they have to fully commit to that. I have a feeling that's what EA is doing right now. Like, maybe with the exception of BioWare stuff. I don't know. Well, I guess even BioWare is doing Anthem, which is going to be a games as a service. Yeah. Most likely.
Yeah.
I'd be
and
shocked
honestly,
if it
like,
wasn't.
right. At the very least, it's going to kind of fall in line with, like, you know, Destiny and Division and that kind of thing, where it's more loot oriented. I mean, from the quote unquote gameplay demo that they had, it's very clearly going to be that.
Yeah.
But whether or not it's actually anything that's entertaining, remains to be seen. I think it looks beautiful.
Oh, like, it looks amazing.
Everything that they showed looks amazing, but I trust that as much as I trusted the very first gameplay trailers that were for The Division. I was like, there's no way in hell it's going to work like that. Everything is way too clean and way too perfect right now.
Yeah.
And that has nothing to do with whether or not I trusted Ubisoft. Like, that was just simply like, this is not a game. This is a movie that I'm watching, basically.
Yeah. My favorite, though, is whenever, like, Ubisoft, like, comes out with, like, their new shooter, like, co-op, or, like, kind of, like, team game-based thing. They have, like, these guys on the stage, and they have their headsets, and they're talking, and they're like, you know, well, there's a guy at, like, 30 degrees. Like, no one fucking plays that way.
Yeah.
It sounds awesome.
You are correct.
People play PUBG like that.
But I feel like a lot of people feel like they think that they play that way.
Yeah.
Realistically, nobody does. Like, you know, everything that is communicated will be super vague. You know, it's like, there's a guy to the left, and you turn left, and it's like, not that far left. Go back right, so you go all the way right.
So that's the thing. The thing that's kind of funny is, like, PUBG has no tutorials, has no marketing, like, no real marketing, like, it doesn't have that kind of thing on stage, but everyone actually does play that way, where they, like, call it out by degrees. They call it out by, like, oh, the shed with the red roof or whatever. Like, it's all very exact.
Yeah, you have to.
But that's my point, is that, like, it's not like, here, play it like this. It's you have to play like this, and it organically happens that way. Yeah. And I think that, like, that's where, in particular, when Ubisoft is one that I always just recognize, because it's like The Division, Rainbow Six,
Assassin's Creed Unity. That demo was painful. It was so painful.
Oh, I forgot about that. Oh man.
But yeah, you are definitely correct with that.
And I think, like, I don't know. I just feel like PUBG is so successful because it's like, I'm gonna make this game, and it's gonna be the way that it's gonna be the best game I can make it. And people are just going to have their own experiences in it, as opposed to, like, trying to, like, force people to play a certain way to, like, I don't know.
Yeah. I don't know. But like I said, and kind of going back to the topic at hand, them closing Visceral super sucks. Like, whether or not you work in the games industry or know anybody that does, like, just simply, like, as a person, I feel like you kind of agree that closing a studio sucks because your corporate overlords didn't like the thing that you were making.
Yeah.
And I especially feel like this is true because, and this is just a personal thing, when it comes to, like, publisher-developer relationships, I feel like there is, for the most part, a lack of transparency for some of those relationships, where, you know, like, the developers, like, we're going to make this, and then the publishers are like, okay, great, go do that. And then either they don't pay enough attention, or they change their minds of what they want the game to be, and then wait until the 11th hour to tell the developer, and at that point the developer's like, no.
Yeah.
And I don't know, so Visceral closing sucks really bad.
Yep.
And the fact that I pretty much have zero faith that I'm ever going to get a good single-player Star Wars game now, like, that's pretty much out the window. I want to sit here and say, you know, it's like, oh, I'm definitely going to get a good Star Wars game, but I don't think that's going to happen. Realistically, any hope that I had lied with Visceral, and now I feel like it's just going to be turned into some microtransaction-y bullcrap thing made by EA. Not even really, like, made by a developer that EA owns, but just made by EA, because they're doing this whole games as a service thing, which does not and will not ever belong in single-player experiences. But that's just my opinion.
That is just your opinion. I'm not agreeing with that. Yeah. So I can't find exact numbers. I haven't looked too hard, but it looks like there's about 60 employees at Visceral.
What?
It looks like there's about 60 employees at Visceral, or there were 60 employees.
Oh, I believe it was like 80 something.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. It says,
wait, hold on.
Visceral, which employed around 80 people.
Okay. Yeah, that sounds about right.
Yeah.
With what I got here. Okay.
But yeah.
So yeah, that sucks. But I mean, you know, Visceral made good games, so I'm sure that all those people are gonna get themselves some jobs elsewhere. Like,
yeah.
Like, whether or not you like, the games always looked good, sounded good. I think played well. Like, there weren't any, like, super major bugs that I know of.
Yeah.
Like,
I don't know. I mean, like I said, it just sucks because I'm never gonna get a good single player Star Wars game anymore. Like, that's just a fact at this point, I think. Because even if I get one, it's gonna basically be, you know, like the next, you know, Deus Ex or Shadow of War, where it's like, yeah, you know, it's like there is a single player thing, but it has microtransactions. And Deus Ex is kind of like not even really an offender in this regard, because the microtransactions literally have zero bearing on the single player experience,
which is how it should be.
Yeah. But I mean, at any point, if there is a question of, did you change your experience in order to fit these in and make me want to buy them?
So have you heard, like, how Shadow of War's microtransaction, like, gets you?
Not really. I watched a little bit of a Jim Sterling video, and he didn't go into a whole lot of detail, unfortunately. It didn't feel like, at least. Like, there's a lot of complaining, but not much detail on how it works. But if I was, like, listening between the lines properly, it sounds like basically there's, like, let's say a list of, like, 10 different orcs that you start with. And the only way to add to that list is by getting these loot boxes, either with in-game currency or real-world money. So then Like, even if there's only 5 orcs active at any given moment, they're all going to be those same 10 guys.
Yeah.
And then if you get a loot box, it turns into 11 guys.
Interesting.
I don't know if that's how that works.
That's not so much what I was talking about, but like apparently like it's really good. Like the game paces really well for like the first like 95% of the game.
But then like for like the last 5% for the true ending is when it turns into a total grind fest.
Yeah, it's just like super grind. And then it's like, well, you could drop, some money and speed that up.
Yeah.
So
yeah. And that right there is why microtransactions don't belong in a single player experience ever. Like, it shouldn't even be an option, because if it's to the point like in Deus Ex where there's no reason to do it, then they don't belong there anyways, because there's no reason for them.
Sure. We've had this argument before. Like, if there's no reason for them to be there, like, I don't care if they're there or not, as long as if they're not like, they're like in your face like every 10 minutes, like, here, buy this. But like, if there's no reason for them to be there, I don't care, because I'm just not gonna buy them. But I can see like, hey, if the studio wants to try to make some extra money, great, that's fine with me. Obviously, like, there's a point where like it gets
too egregious,
and like it's not okay.
Yeah,
obviously. Anyway, we're coming up on 38 minutes, give or take,
ish.
Depending on when we actually started this. But yeah, as always, let us know your thoughts. And I'm gonna throw this out there. Not BioWare. You can't choose BioWare. Who would you like to see make a Star Wars single player experience? I'm just you don't answer that. Don't.
Me?
No, you don't answer that. This is for in the comments.
Oh.
For the people who stuck with us for 38 minutes. So Viper,
all right,
ask us or answer that. Who would you like to see make a Star Wars game that is not BioWare? Single player, first person shooter. So it's not Knights of the Republic or anything like that.
Whoa. You can't put a
because we know that like BioWare would make Knights of the Old Republic. We're not like there's not.
No, I'm saying you can limit the developer, but you can't say like what the game is going to be.
Do you really want anyone other than BioWare to make Knights of the Old Republic?
I'm not talking about that. You said a single player Star Wars game, so I'm sitting over here thinking like I think it'd be badass if like Obsidian got on board and continued the Jedi Knight series.
Whatever, man. Anyway. Yeah, I think that's pretty much it. So we'll see you guys next time on Split Couch Games.
Bye.
Bye.